Hi, everyone. I hope you are doing well. I wanted to remind you all that we have our recital coming up soon, December 13th. It'll be all day pretty much at Millbrook Baptist, and you are all invited to come to that. It's such our culminating event for the fall of 2025. We also are doing a retirement home tour on December 6th. We're going to start out at North Hills in the morning, and then we're going to go to a couple retirement homes that day and would love for you to be involved. We also have started our food drive this month for the Food Bank of North Carolina, and they desperately need food. So if you are a student, you can donate at the front of the building and our little box. Also, a huge thank you to those who participated in Convocation so far. It is just, I think, the best thing that we do at the school, hands down. It is so wonderful to hear you play and to see the growth every time you get up and more confident you feel every time. And this last one, we just had one of our students who is graduating this year played, and she might be going into music too, which is really cool. But we will see about that. Um, it's just so awesome to see you guys be brave like that, to get up there and do this, and it just helps so much on the recitals. Um, I just think it's the one of the best things we do. So we'll have our last one of this part of the school year next Friday at 6 o'clock. It is the last time you can perform before the recital. So to get your nerves going and to get some good feedback and all of that, it's such a good way to test yourself and also give back. So I wanted to talk a little bit about a movie. So I don't watch a ton of movies, especially not in the past couple years. I'm not a huge TV person at all, but there have been some. I mean, I have some of my favorites. I love The Young Victoria, which is a wonderful movie, and I love It's a Wonderful Life, and that's definitely just up there for me in terms of movies. But this movie just came out. It's on Netflix. It's called Frankenstein. And I don't know. I think I read the book when I was in high school. I own the book, but I don't remember reading it. And I've seen so many different renditions of the movie that it's all kind of melding together. But this new movie is directed by Guillermo del Toro, and it's on Netflix. It just came out, and it's so good. And I think it's really close to the book. So it wasn't scary, at least not in my perception. It wasn't scary. It was deep and meaningful and uh, social commentary. It's just really good. So let me give you my review. So if you don't want any spoilers, do not listen anymore. I'm not going to give huge spoilers, but I am going to give a little bit. In my opinion, Frankenstein is all about attachment theory. It's all about it in this movie, and how the system in place perpetuates this the attachment wounds, and yeah, that they keep going until you've healed them, until someone in your family line has healed them. And even then, you can argue, are we conditioned? Can we ever truly get beyond our conditioning? I don't know. That is remain to be seen. But the gist is, well, I will first tell you that the characters in this, Frankenstein's monster is played by Jacob Elordi, who is a pretty famous actor. I think he's pretty good. And then Oscar, and I cannot remember his last name. Uh, um, he plays Frankenstein, and amazing work. Basically, it shows you the backstory of Frankenstein, that Frankenstein came from a very abusive family. I mean, this is the Victorian age, but very abusive family. His dad was very emotionally and physically abusive to him, and wanted him to learn. basically his dad was a scientist, a physician, and wanted his son to learn all this stuff. And so if the son got anything wrong, he would, and at least in the movie, he would smack him with something. So very, very abusive and very little love, very, very little love. And then his mother dies in childbirth with his younger brother, and his younger brother survives, and his mom dies. Then his dad eventually dies as well. So lots of attachment wounds, lots of devastation. And as you can imagine, a child not having parents, and when he did have a parent, the parent was abusive. He is looking for attachment, looking for, has needs, like is looking for something. He's not ever able to meet those needs, and delves into his work, lets his work kind of consume him, which seems like a understandable coping mechanism. A lot of us do that, that we just kind of focus in on that stuff to give us purpose and meaning when we have been, um, I guess, stripped of that from our conditioning. And so he obviously, as you know, creates a creature, and that's where the fantastical part comes in. He uses body parts and puts this, creates this creature out of electricity from lightning. And so you think of, this is where the monster comes in, and he's got like all of the like sewn together marks, and he's like killing everybody, and he's just this monster. But that is not how he is portrayed at all in this movie. He is portrayed as this young, naive, innocent, sweet creature who just is curious about life and interested in life and what life has to offer. Can't speak yet, and but the Frankenstein, of course, now has gotten to this, met this feat, has brought this creature into creation, has you know done what he was set out to do. But he didn't think about, you create something, you can't, that's not the end. You don't just create something and then let it go. You create something and then it's yours to help. Well, just as Frankenstein's dad was a horrible, mean, just not a very good dad, right? Well, you can imagine that Frankenstein might be the same way. So he is abusive to this creature. He is shameful of this creature because the creature can only say one word, and that is Victor, which is Frankenstein's first name. And he'll ask him questions, and he teaches himself, and he still can only say one thing, which just seems very reminiscent of how his dad treated him as he was when he was a kid. But he would lock the creature into the cellar with cuffs to not let him out. He treated him as a monster. He regarded him as a monster. He was ashamed of him. He didn't want him to be there. He wanted to get rid of him. It was, yeah, he had this crazy idea to create this thing for science, and then didn't care about doing anything after that. And so it's very symbolic of how our attachment wounds start with people when they, parents have to parent. They can't just bring us into the world and then that's it. No, there is more to do. And by the what you do or what you don't do is going to literally create in your little human, your tiny human, that's going to create something monstrous or something of good. And I'm saying that with quotation marks because nobody is. Nobody is monstrous. It's just not true. But anyway, so Frankenstein's younger brother, now they're obviously adults. He has created this creature. The brother comes back to visit him with his fiance. And Frankenstein, it's very obvious that he is in love with his brother's fiance. And then the fiance somehow finds the creature and falls in love with the creature. Now, it's not said, but it is obvious that that is what it is. Just that she loves his innocence, his curiosity, his like naivety, his just purity, right? And Frankenstein figures this out and wants to kill him. And so he sets everything on fire and they all leave. And the creature did not die, which is very interesting. But let's keep going. So he does not die. He wanders aimlessly into the world on his own without any guidance. So, like someone who does have an attachment wound is learning how to relate to others from a distance, from a hiding, watching from afar, getting the information from afar. Eventually learns how to speak eloquently, might I add, learns how to do all the things to function as a human and is genuinely trying to do good in this world. He is not a monster, but he also learns when he's off on his own that humans are capable of good and they're capable of bad. But when they do bad, it's not always for bad reasons. Sometimes it could be for good reasons, or it could be, at least in the perception of the person, for good reasons. And he learns this the hard way. And so he does wind up having to kill someone due to protecting himself. And then kind of, I feel like, takes on what Frankenstein taught him, that he was a monster. So he thought he was a monster. So he, again, separated himself from the world. But just like a child goes out and wants to make a name for themselves. They eventually sometimes want to come back. They want to find their roots. And so he comes back to Frankenstein. And as you might imagine, that does not go well, does not go well. Frankenstein is ashamed of him, does not want anything to do with him. And I won't go into more detail about this, but I will tell you where the movie ends with a quote. The quote is, "And thus the heart will break, yet broken live on." And this is by Lord Byron. And so basically, you find out that this creature is not a monster at all, that it was probably Frankenstein's Frankenstein thinking that he was a monster. It was, he was projecting his feelings about himself onto this creature. And so this creature didn't want that anymore and decides, after all this heartache, all of this devastation, all of this abuse, he's still not dead. He does not die, but he decides to keep going. So in a way, it says two things to me, that do do we necessarily get away from our conditioning? Is that something that truly happens, or will there always be some reminiscent thing that brings us back to that conditioning that was either good or bad for when we were young? And then the next thing is that all of these things can happen, yet we still can keep going. The wounds are there. You literally can see the sewing of the skin and everything on Frankenstein. So he's like the visual embodiment of what it looks like to have wounds and to keep going. But it's kind of hopeful in a way, that he's like this resilient person that, even though he was shunned by the people in his life, the people that created him, and then experiencing having to kill someone and seeing what makes a person good and or good or bad choices, and having to learn how to relate to people from afar, from not from like the parent or the creator, which we as humans should be learning that stuff from. All of that, despite all of that, he kept going. He kept living. I think it's a hopeful movie. I think it's a hopeful movie. I think it is full of depth. I think it's not a horror movie at all. And the fact that it's been made into a horror movie, I feel like that makes sense. I mean, if you want to take it literally, he was a monster, right? but in a way that kind of like takes that idea and like negates it because he wasn't a monster. He was life, he was creation, and then he was shunned, but then he learned how to keep going and not be tied to that burden. It's just interesting. And so I think it's definitely all about attachment. And I think it's just such a cool commentary and that how evil attachment wounds can be. Not people, but attachment wounds can be and how it can really mess with someone. Highly recommend it. It's on Netflix. Go watch it. They should make an opera out of this. This would be a great opera. Not to mention just the time period and like the dramatic nature of this and but then like the meaning. It would be a good one. All right. See you later.